Good afternoon. We're picking up roughly where we left off last time. Thank you for the hydration. Now, I've kind of forgotten, like, what I did and what I was up to. Right. I blew up that one guy's everything. Also, congratulations on the 5-stream watch streak. Motivational reminder. Oh, also, Zurian, congratulations on being first. I must say, I'm very happy with our fruitful collaboration. I'd like to suggest that we deepen our relationship with something we call motivational reminders. It's a marketing technique that we sometimes employ for key customers. I recently had a meeting with Mr. Adamantides about the policy for Blue Tide Incorporated. He's hesitating to include his propane tanks in the policy, and I think a friendly reminder on why that is a good idea could nudge him in the right direction. Since I don't run Gordon's account anymore, an upsell to Mr. Amanatides would look really pretty on my bonus check. Of course, I'll make sure you are properly compensated and have all expenses covered. Motivational reminder. So I have to destroy every propane tank. Blowing up any one propane tank will trigger the alarm. I'm pretty sure, just by like imagining the notion of it, I'm imagining that a gunshot would probably set off a propane tank. If so, I just need line of effect to each one. Let me see if I can't just find one to test that with. You didn't get here until the starting screen ended. You were doing Nito attempts on y'all. Did you at least beat him? Aqua, welcome. By all means, lurk. Divine Longbow wasn't helping because it only does 33 damage. What you do is you have a divine weapon to take out the skeletons, and then you switch to a weapon that does real damage. Okay, yeah, gunshot does work. Only did 33 to the skeletons. Gotcha. In that case, you want to do most of the work with a different weapon, and then finish them with a divine weapon. Because the only hit that really matters to stop the resurrection is the last one. Alright. You the bow one-shots them? Rip. In that case, I guess just live with the divine one, then switch to the normal one for Nito. Oh, yank. Flat screen monitor, $60. The last time I saw a rudimentary flat screen monitor, it was $100. Granted, it was at a computer repair shop with exploitative prices. Okay, so like, in a perfect world, I literally just have like a straight line shot to each one and I just go bam, 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 bam. I don't know if that's going to be possible. But I definitely feel like with proper setup, I'm not going to be running up against the edge of the timer on this one. I'll reload just to get that one shotgun shell back. Let's see. Yeah, I guess first things first, let's scout out each propane tank. I also want to keep my eye open for valuables, because upgrades are nice. Okay, propane tank in there. I feel like I could probably fairly easily hit this from over there if this wall didn't exist. So let's see if making this wall not exist blows up the propane. Let's see if making this wall not exist blows up the propane tank. Right? So from over there, I can hit this. This is fine. Okay, there's another one down there. Or all the way around here, rather. Well, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get through, like, this solid stone, like, level foundation bit. So I've kind of got to do this from down here. So I wonder if I could, like, be in a boat out here in the middle. And, like, shoot this, and then, like, go up here. Or maybe I start up here and I shoot down, then I go around like this. Oh, congratulations on the 20 stream watch streak. Alternately, I could do something like lay out a trail of propane tanks, so that shooting one blows them all up in a domino. That could potentially work. And would be very silly. Let's see. In here. Oh, that is tucked away. Letting planks not near the tanks to get use them as a fuse. I don't know if that would actually work. Like, I think that these need to be, like, properly agitated, not just have a fire near them. See, there's a bunch of stuff in the way of this. But if I broke down this wall and these things... yeah, then I could shoot it through those. So let's try that. It'd be a difficult shot, but I'm pretty sure I could hit it. So the idea is shoot that one, shoot that one. I might need a little help targeting, because I don't actually see that up there from down here. Let's see. I think it was just there. Okay, yeah, so... Just having a hard time seeing it. Whoops. Or is it actually out of line of sight? I suppose there's a really easy check I can do. Okay, it's actually out of line of sight. I might have to alter which bit of the wall is blasted open. If I can't get like a better angle. Alright, it does look kind of white from here. I almost did that thing I do where I like mix up white and yellow. I don't know why I keep doing that. It's been a problem ever since I was a kid. Like, I will look at something white, I will think white, and then I'll say yellow. Hang on a second, this isn't actually secured, is it? I could hypothetically just take this out. Are they all like this? Because as long as I don't blow them up, I could hypothetically just relocate them. Yeah, they're just in these brackets. Just gotta be careful. I was taught that teeth were white and I looked at my parents. No, just... Like, I know what the colors are, I just, for whatever reasons, struggle to, like, say the right thing. Okay, I can just relocate these things. That makes this 100 times easier. I was like, okay, the plan is to be like an awesome sharpshooter. No, I don't even need that much. I can just go for it. Just gotta be real careful not to blow them up. Luckily for me, propane is a notoriously stable, thing. I think. Surely. Come on out. Eh. Perhaps play nice. Oh. Wait, what did I hit that time? Oh, this chemistry set is explosive? Oh, okay. Mildly concerning. Actually, hold on, can I... I was gonna say, hold on, can I, like, use this to... get this open? Get this thing off. Get this thing over here. I didn't actually intend for this to be a path to the bottom, but if it can serve as one, even better. Come on. Not gently. Gently. This is the definition of gentle. I think the thing that senses whether it's exploded is a little bit dented, but that's okay. a minor case of severe structural damage. This is fine. Where? Okay, yeah, screw it. Let's just make a big hole. Not quite how I envisioned that going. I could just use, like, my stuff, like my bombs and my rockets, but the part of me that's a total penny pincher is like, what if I didn't? It's like my blood will come back, my bombs won't. Alright, delicately blowtorch the propane tank off the wall. What could possibly go wrong? This is on the wrong side of the wall. I was probably gonna need a bomb to get it out anyway. This is fine. Come along. Carefully, gently. I suppose I could just leave that there. But I kind of want to get them all in one big pile. I like how we can drop from the second story and it's fine, but like a little tiny boop down these stairs and it goes off. Come along, gently, safely. Right, now there's gonna be one up there, maybe. I don't have to get them all in one big pile, but like the more that I can relocate, the easier this is. And this one's giving off the vibe of one that's gonna be a pain to get at, potentially. Okay, that one's mounted to the ceiling there. This one, I think, if I was careful... I could probably take out the wall behind it, and I could totally hit that one with a gunshot. Alternatively, I could rocket it from, like, the outside. So maybe I just indicate where to aim with the rocket launcher. So it's right there. It's like just below the top. I don't need much of an indicator, just an adequate indicator. Oh. Can I see that from over here? Oh yeah, I totally can. Excellent. Okay, so this one and this one are accounted for. That one I gotta move, that one I gotta move. Like, the other ones maybe not, but this one I feel like if I don't move it, it's gonna be too far out of the way. Gently, minimal jostling. Gently, with minimal jostling, she says. I feel like scraping this thing along the bottom can't be doing me any favors. I don't know if there's a way to, like, rotate something in my grip without doing something like that. Let's see if I can slowly, carefully, methodically get it up these steps. I'll lift up the front of it, come on. My grab? No, no, no. I'm powerful, I don't need it. In hindsight, I should probably not be holding the blowtorch out like that while transferring this. Granted, not like the sledgehammer is substantially better. The shape reminds you of the submarine that imploded with rich people on board. I believe that one was called Titan. I mostly feel sorry for the one guy's son. Like, one of them was like a rich guy that wasn't involved in building the submarine, but was like invited along. And he made his son come along, even after his son was like, this thing looks like a death trap. And he like actually guilted his son into it, like, oh, like, you don't even want to spend time with your father on Father's Day? So he's like, okay, fine, I guess we can do this. And then the incident happened. So I feel bad for the poor kid. Alright, bit of an awkward angle for the blowtorching, but this is fine. Imagine how terrifying it must be in any scenario where you might actually be like using a blowtorch around like anything genuinely explosive. Or like a cutting torch. Like, surely it's got to happen at some point. Like, either if you're like an emergency responder, or if you're just like an exploited worker who's being told either do this incredibly dangerous thing, or like you're fired and your livelihood is gone. Just don't blow yourself up, and what's the problem? Like, imagine like how terrifying it'd be to like do something like that in real life. It's like that's probably actually happened to people. Ow. I kinda knew that was coming. I was going way too fast. This is fine. Oh, oh, oh. Feeling a little bit jostly. Go nice and slow and methodical. Okay, slow. I remember you telling me that's. I remember you telling that story, Surian. Like, solidarity, almost burning down the building. Okay, so these three are accounted for, that one's accounted for. There's another one over here, let's see if we can't get it out. It's over here. Okay, I just have to get it through this wall by the looks of things. How do I do this without destroying it? What, does this one not explode? I could just make this one another one that I shoot a rocket at, because I'm pretty sure that if I opened this up with like a bomb, I could put a rocket down here and that would do the job. Yeah. So maybe I just try that. So yeah, like I put a rocket there, I put a rocket there. I put like a gunshot here. Now I just need those three. Being able to relocate these things definitely makes working with them a lot easier. This one's wide open. I just need to get stuff out of the way. Let's see. Moving it around this way seems like the way to go. What do my explosives look like? So this is a pipe bomb. This is a bomb that I can like set on something. And this is a rocket launcher. Yeah, the pipe bomb bounces around. And it's not a particularly big explosion, so it can be good for like point damage. But because it bounces around, it's not the easiest thing to actually target. The bomb is really easy to target, but the explosion's pretty big. And the rocket launcher is kind of like a bomb that flies. So it's really, really easy to get it where you want it. Come on, come on. Just 2 to go. There's probably a really slick route that I could take through all of this that would, like, blow them all up really fast and not need anywhere near this much setup. But I kind of like the idea of just dragging them all together and then setting them all off at once like that. Alright, this one... I could go through, like, this wall. That'd make my life easier. This wall's probably really thick, though. But I do know that there are, like, tunnels inside, so, like, maybe one's here? Oh. Makes my life easier. Alright. It's actually super convenient. Wow. Just gotta drag it around. Alright. I perhaps should have started with the bottom. Come along. Let's not go that way just yet. Right, now there's just the one on top of that roof to take care of. And that one feels like it's a problem that's also solvable via rocket launcher. I haven't quite officially determined that yet, but it's got the energy of a problem that I can just rocket. Let's start by getting up there. You know, in hindsight, or rather, now that I'm thinking about it, putting a propane tank on a roof feels somewhat unwise. Like, getting it up there and getting it down from there both sound really difficult. Unless you've got, like, really, really easy, like, access to a crane or something. And, like, suppose there's a lightning strike or whatever. Like, it could just, like, blast a hole in your roof. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I can totally just drag this one to the edge. I could drag it down, but I do have rockets, so... That almost ended hilariously. Just kind of put this right here. So yeah, I should just have to go rocket, 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 Fourth rocket for good measure. Alright. Yeah. I'm not sure how that one survived. It's John propane tank. We did it. I almost choked on my espresso when I turned on the news. Hilarious. I've been giggling all morning. Turns out that bomb worked even better than I planned. Great work. Okay, so the dam broke, flooded everything. Satellite dishes. I've been going through the Blue Tide computers, and I think I'm onto something. This might actually be bigger than I first thought and goes way deeper than just Lee. Blue Tide is controlled by somebody called Mr. Amanatides, but there are no official records on him. Like he didn't exist. A lot of information is deleted from the computers, but I remember seeing satellite dishes on some of the buildings, and I got this idea to hack them and download the communication data directly. I know I said before that there wouldn't be any more favors, but this really is the last one. By the way, seems they didn't appreciate our last visit because Blue Tide just filed a security report for an armed guard helicopter. Be safe. I mean, telling me to be safe is a bit, Oh, I totally forgot that I had these things. I might have to go through at some point and just try to find all the valuables that I can. An assortment of dishes. My goodness, that's a big number. Download communication data from 3 satellite dishes and at least 2 communication terminals. The island is protected by an armed guard helicopter that arrives shortly after hacking the first target. Okay, so... technically, I guess I could take as long as I wanted, as long as I could dodge helicopter. Like, it doesn't feel like an instant loss condition, so much as a you'll probably die kind of thing. Do I have to, like, channel anything, or can I just tap E? Okay, I've got to channel something. Alright. And how quickly after doing so does it arrive? Oh, there it is. Okay, so I've got a little bit of time. I actually kind of wonder if I can, like, do this whole, like, improv while the helicopter's chasing me. Oh, is that my escape hope? Oops. I saw the icon and I was like, target. Okay, it kind of stings, but... I bet that I could totally do that in one go. Or... I feel like if I had to, I could probably, like... do the mission with that thing chasing me the whole time, but... setting everything up preemptively doesn't sound like a bad idea. So I probably want to start down there and come up here, because my escape is all the way in the upper left, so this will probably be the last one that I do. It's a little bit awkward to reach. Okay. Pretty straightforward. If I'm being chased by a helicopter, I'd probably want an easier way up than those crates. Alright. I'm probably gonna want to drop down to here from up here, so... Actually, that one's down underneath, so... Maybe I, like, start here, then go around? That doesn't feel right. I could just blast through this wall again. So I could grab that and go through here. There's also one up here on this building. So maybe I do the opposite and I, like, drop down through there and then, like... Actually, if I'm in those tunnels, where can I come out? Because now that I'm thinking about it, the tunnels sound like a place that's probably really safe from the helicopter. So I could come out here. So I could also, like, potentially hit that one and then, like, drop down and land in here and then just dip through here. Did that summon the helicopter? I can't quick save anymore, so yes it did. Alright, I come through here. Big ol' propane tank. Is there really a thing right there? Huh. I guess I could get that too while I was at it. It's like maybe I start up here, hop into the tunnels, grab this, pop back into the tunnels, grab this. Especially if I have, like, a little hole here, so I can just do it from inside safely. Come on, just wiggle it off. Come on. There we go. Okay, so I can emerge from there, get that. Okay, with the tunnel system, these ones are all actually fairly safely close to one another. And I could actually emerge from there and then run to the boat instead of, like, going over here. So I've actually got options. Oh, there's one all the way at the top of this tower as well. That might have to be where I start then, because, like... I don't think there's a quick way up. I can envision a quick way down, not necessarily a quick way up. Actually, is there any way up? Hold on. Okay, I might need planks for this. That or a vehicle, maybe? I presume the helicopter comes if I destroy the supports on this thing. No, it doesn't. Well, alright then, never mind. Didn't actually think that that would work. It even fell in the best way I could have asked it to. Alright. Let's just roll with that, I guess. Then there's another thing here. So I could probably do something like boop, 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 drop down, get this, get that. Oh, but I need to get that one as well. Right, this one's nice and safely indoors. So I kind of just need like a quick way in. I could potentially run along this thing, especially with that right there. Yeah, I can't use it if I knock it down like that. And then I died to death. So I can conceivably... Oh, shoot. I might need a plank for the floor there as well. Luckily I've got 30, I've got plenty. Let's just patch that up just a little bit. Oh. So I can be up here. Grab that, jump in here. There's also one right there. It's on the outside. I wonder how easy it is to, like, bait the helicopter around. Like, if the helicopter's over there on that side of the building and I, like, pop out here, I'd probably have some time to safely do this. Alright, so I can do this safely from down here. Well, as safely as is reasonable, I guess. Run up here. I want to get outside to this thing and onto the vent thing that's there. What kind of hole does this make to the outside? A one that takes this out, so it's not good enough. What about right here? Then I can maybe do some shenanigans with planks. This feels unsteady. I do feel like this could work, though. So I go here. Like that. But I do want to get up onto that thing if at all possible. I guess I technically don't have to. I could, like, hit that, then drop down, go in there, because I need to go in there anyway. Maybe I just don't use this vent thing at all. So I come in here. I presume that the hacker thing is in that little secure room. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Okay. Also, the room is not secure. I could put a boat here. That said, I'm probably just kind of like, in general, safe from the helicopter in here, I would presume. So, what I'm thinking is... I just put a hole in this wall that I can come through. It's like I conclude my business up there, drop down here, run through here. Go down here, grab this. Run outside. Across the way and into here. Go upstairs, get this. Pop out here, get this. And then I'm just kind of like in and out of the tunnels until it's all done. The only problematic one is this one, so I guess, like... Is there a really quick way to get up there, or do I have to just decide to start there, and then just kind of like run around? So, I think I just start here. Yeah, let's take a quick 5-minute break here. It's roughly that time. Then when we come back, we'll see if this plan needs radical restructuring or not. So yeah, 5-minute break. I'll see you shortly. I return. Let's see if this plan has any merit whatsoever. I also haven't gone around with my yellow paint applicator, so... I may or may not get lost. Hello, helicopter friend. Goodbye, helicopter friend. Ow. Oh dear. I didn't realize that the helicopter would be this aggro. This is fine, though. Oh, shoot. This is fine. Ow. Ow. Oh, ow. This is fine. This is fine. Yeah, the helicopter's job is not to preserve the integrity of the structure. The helicopter's job is to kill any interlopers. Now, granted, it's failing at both, so... Is it far enough away that I can get away with this? Shoot. No, it is not. Ow, 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 ow. I'm probably going to die. Oh. Away with the... There's a bot comment. My plan is to run over here and grab this one, because this one's fairly exposed, before the helicopter's, like, all the way here. Oh, well, that works too, I guess. Helicopter's like, I'll help. That's why they call me a helpicopter. Let me out. Oh. Helicopter is in the dust. It has no clue where I am. Ow. I think all of those shots hit. Yeah, this is fine. Ow. My word. Yeah, still gotta get those two. The one on the outside of the building might be a problem. But I'll burn that bridge when I get to it. Oh, awesome. Now I basically just have to survive getting into the tunnels. Easier said than done. Knocking the satellites down does seem to work. I think I kind of just have to, like, bait the helicopter around. Like, I think I can avoid it as long as it isn't, like, immediately on me. I cannot use quick saves once retribution has been called down upon me. Basically, it's the first time I hack something, I am locked in. Okay, wasting all the cover of the tunnels early on doesn't seem wise, so I won't do that this time. Oh dear. Ow, 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 ow. Okay, let's see if I can't, stay away from that. Or can I just, like, do that? Get some health back. Ow. Right. Ow. Into the tunnels. Into the tunnels. Eh. Grab this while I'm here. Grab that while I'm here. What if it's a light? Okay, I want to beat the helicopter around to, like, up here, if at all possible. So I think the best way to do that would be to, like, stick my nose out over here. Come on, come all the way around. There we go. I don't think I evaded it as thoroughly as I would have liked to. Ow, ow, ow. Ow, 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 ow. Thank you for the apples. They will give me power. Let's see. If I could put something together to get me from, like, there to up there, that'd be nice. I don't know how plausible that is. Doesn't feel impossible. If there was, like, a boat there, maybe? Is this a functional boat? Probably not. Well, it's functional in the sense that it floats, but it's not functional in the sense that it moves without me kicking my feet. These ones do that. They do. Okay. Those are some high-quality cables. It's just, so if I don't have to go around in a big line to get up there... I'm seeing now that this boat is not the advantage that I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. So with that I can run up. Okay, that might help. It could also be very easily thwarted with a single bullet from the helicopter, but... it gives me options. And while I'm here, to save me the effort of having to do it on the fly again, I'll just do it like that. Alright. Maybe this'll help. So I guess conceivably I could, like, cut the whole thing off, maybe? I'm not actually sure which bit it's attached to. Because, like, knocking over the entire tower didn't disable it. Alright. It begins, once more. Ow. It's fine. Get over this way. I think the harshest part of the helicopter shooting me is that when I take damage I slow down, which then opens me up to getting shot again. Okay, now it's just the southern half of the island. Let's hope I'm quick enough. I just need to get up here and I'm probably alright. Excellent. Just take this in here with me, since apparently that's an option. Excellent. Now it's just the one in that building over there, and then I can leave. Just gotta cross this road. Excellent. And now to escape. Ow. Ow, ow, ow. Ow. No, not like this. Ah. Shoot. If that one bullet hadn't, like, hit me and slowed me down at the start, I think I would have been fine. Alright. This is fine. Grabbing the ones that are most out in the open first seems like a strat that works. At least to a degree. It certainly mitigates risk. I tried firing rockets at the helicopter. It's not the first helicopter that's been sent to deal with me. The last one, anything that I tried to do to it, it just phased through the helicopter. Oh, I can even hack it on the run. Nice. Now it's just in there and escape. Right, get the thing. Yeah, this is fine. What angle would I like the helicopter to be at? Probably not right there. Wait, where's my boat? Oh shit, it's all the way up there. It's fine. Excellent, there we go. Midnighter. New tool has been delivered. Oh, thank you for the hydration and for the headpats. This place is starting to look kinda nice. Vehicle thruster. How is that distinct from the rocket booster? Thrusters can be attached to vehicles and will burn when driving forward. Multiple thrusters can be combined on the same vehicle. Okay, so rocket boosters just go, vehicle thrusters just are tied to the actual acceleration of the vehicle itself, so they make it go faster. There's actually been a bunch of missions where, come to think of it, having a faster car would have been nice. Are those coals, or... Hang on. What's that? $600 banana. Alright. I guess these things are here for, like, climbing out with. Alternatively... what if there's anything else hidden around the place? Big forklift. Maybe in like these sheds or towers. Hey, that's cool. It's like a train carriage here. Oh, I really thought I might have been onto something there. I feel like living in an old rail yard would be, like, actually really cool. Like, I'm not particularly interested in trains, but I think just, like, having all that stuff around would be really cool. Oh, and then this is a firing range. Nice. My aim's decent, not perfect. Well, depends on how warmed up I am, but anyway. Best month. It looks like this is going to be our best month in years. If this continues, we'll finally be able to replace the heating we talked about. Anyway, just wanted to say thanks. Well done. Hugs and kisses, Mom. Sorry to contact you again. I was just going through the satellite data when I heard about the dam break at Lee. I've been waiting for an opportunity to get a hold of Lee's accounting. It's the last missing piece of my Lee investigation. He's kept it hidden in various places, but right now the whole place is flooded due to some accident at the power plant, and he moved everything upstairs. The site is completely empty at the moment, so this is a golden opportunity to get a hold of those documents. I like how this was the last favor for real. This is fine. Now the question is, are they all wired up, or... Breaking an alarm box or wire triggers the alarm. Everything is indeed flooded. There's stuff all over the place. Also, my words, I did a number on this place. So those are wired up. Yeah, I guess the first thing to do is to see if there's anything that I can relocate or just outright claim. Not that one. Oh, above the platform. Okay. That one's also wired up to an alarm box. Hmm. Looks like that one's also wired up. Looks like that one's also wired up. Falsified building permit in the trailer. It's also wired up. But that one's in a trailer, so that one feels like the most likely to be able to be moved. It's conceivable that others are movable, but This one feels the most likely. Though the question of how to move it through all this water has yet to be answered. I can just drive the truck. Can I get it anywhere? The road's underwater, but it's not terribly far underwater. It is adequately far underwater. Alright. I could probably get the truck over here, maybe? Grab like those two at the same time, roughly. There are boats on this map. Oh, just barely. Alright. Off-roading with a cargo truck, what could possibly go wrong? This is fine. I appear to be trapped in the cabin. I'm free. So I can grab the thing out of the truck. Grab this thing. Oh. I could potentially park a boat there. I'm free, you'll take two. I'm out of stock, regrettably. I'm just a display piece. Get this. Then jump out through this window. Potentially back into the boat that's potentially there. That was remarkably clean, actually. Alright. So I grab that, grab that, grab that. I probably want to get into a boat here. Next thing that I want is roughly here. I can grab this. I'm definitely feeling like I'm gonna want to use like a boat to come around like this. So, get that. There's tax records in here, which I can get onto like this metal bit here. Grab those. I see there's also like a bunch of things floating in the water that I could conceivably like jump between. Let's see, so I can come over here, perhaps like jump onto this thing. Then come up through this wall. So I come through the wall, grab this. Go through there. Go through like that. Grab this. This is actually in a boat. So I could actually just relocate this one. I don't need to route to it per se. And then there's this one, which... This is fine. So I can like grab this, then just zip over to the escape boat, conceivably. If that doesn't work, I might make a plan that involves like moving this. The only reason I'm not doing that right away is because I have to pass through here to get here anyway, so don't need to worry about it since I can just grab it on the way. That's my line of thought, at least. The part of me that plays Minecraft sometimes wants to like dip under the water and hit control to start going faster. But that is not how it works in Teardown. Yeah, I have Minecraft supporting on control. Down with the ship. You always swap the two? I mean, nothing is stopping you from doing that. I just personally don't. Yeah, this is fine. I like how much faster that parkour was than, like, swimming. Right, let's see if I can't get this over here without, breaking it again. That's probably fine. For a second, the boat looked like a Star Wars ship. Yeah, Naboo kind of has that aesthetic to their ships. They're all sleek and such. Alright, truck might be possessed. Yeah, let's see if this is anywhere close to being, like, good enough. Probably not. I'm already feeling that this is probably not going to be close in the slightest. Oh, especially if I have to climb this whole thing. Yeah, not even close. Lots of propane down there. Let's see, how could I optimize this? So I do know that I can move this one specifically. If I could grab either of these, like, other extreme outlier ones and move them as well, that'd also be nice. This one's part of the wall, so I probably can't. This one's part of the truck, but it is meant to be moved, so, like, maybe if I carve away the bit of wall that it's on. I think the last time I tried that it didn't work, but, like, maybe. Since it was already intended to move. Nope, did not work. Maybe conceivably take this and get it up here somehow. Start in there and then, like, run across the outside here. Which does mean I could conceivably, like, be up here and then not have to climb up the whole thing. Do some shenanigans with planks. I see the vision, at least. So let's say I grab that, go through there. Going in and around and up is very slow. I probably want to go in through that corner there. I can definitely do more shenanigans with planks there. can move this one, but it doesn't really matter that much because that one is still there. Unless I can also move that one. There's also all of these crates here that I could parkour over. If I could get on top of them. There's also this fence for that, so the crate's not special. One here, go through here, grab this, maybe get on the boat and, like, go forward with it through this wall. In order to, like, get back to the escape boat. I can see that working, actually. In which case, I'd probably want to do something like... that's there. But I can just grab this, it's not terribly far. So maybe I start over here, get the truck to the right side of the screen somehow, go here, go straight through here, run up, grab this, drive that down here, and make a quick dip in there for that. It's the best plan I've got so far. Does mean that I gotta do shenanigans with this, but I can envision it being possible. Also, maybe I use, like, construction equipment to, like, move the trailer up there. Yep, I can use this one. What are the odds that I can get up that hill with this thing? Probably not incredible, but I do have vehicle boosters. I can envision the universe where this actually happens. Might need some assistance with ramps. Alternatively, maybe I start here and then I go up like that instead of around like that. So that would get me here. And then I could actually really quickly get up here, so I might be onto something. Getting over there becomes a problem, but if I don't need to reuse the boat, I can have a boat here that I jump into and zip across. Okay, I think I might be onto something. Okay, So... Yep, it's flooded because last time I set up the bomb and obliterated the dam. Yeah, it's like, it's not just the same map over and over, it's the map in the wake of my passing. So I grab that, I come through here. There are all these branches. Grab this, burst through here. There's a plank like this. Go like this, grab this. Go like here, there's a boat here waiting for me. I guess the downside of having a boat here instead of going over the top is that I do have to climb this. That's pretty slow if I don't have a quick way up. I don't think there's any shot of me getting an excavator over here. I mean, I suppose it's worth trying. If I could get an excavator over here, I could just, like, run up the arm. Alternatively, if I could, like, demolish the building without setting off the alarm, but I usually can't do that. I do have one vehicle thruster left. See if we can't get some of this stuff out of the way. More power. I need more power. Sadly, I used most of my power trying to get the truck up the hill and it did not work. This is fine. Oh, thank you for the rotation. It has given me the power that I need to break free of these trees. I like how even with the thruster, this thing's really slow. I do not think this is getting up. But, you know, never say never. I believe. Okay, but surely this isn't getting across. Surely there's a limit to the insanity. I believe. I believe. Come on, come on. I believe. It's like snagged on a bush. Oh no. I believe. Oh dear. Oh my goodness, I'm incredible. Ahem. Believe it or not, this is exactly what I wanted to happen. This is actually exactly what I wanted to happen. Then I can grab that and I can just hop down here. Okay, well. Yeah, next I want to get in here. What if I aimed a little bit higher? Ow. I got bonked. Ah. Oh. Imagine if I ended up soft locked in here. Oh, that's the debris. Unfortunate. Speaking of unintended, this is probably also that. Get that out of the way. I just need like a shallow enough angle that I can actually run up it. There we go. So then I get this. Then I drop down, go through that wall. Come out here like this. I want to grab this on the way through to those. So I probably want a hole in the wall right there. Oh, grab those. I want to get out and onto these vent pipe things. Like this. I want to get in there. Now, that said, first we're going to take a 5-minute break. It is that time. Please take this time to refill your beverage, go to the bathroom, anything that would take you about 5 minutes. I will see you shortly. I return. Okay, so in this hypothetical scenario, we've popped out from here. We're running around like this. We want to get through this wall. I grab this. I don't want to leave through this wall. Enter through this window. I'm gonna grab this, get in this, and then drive straight forward out of here. Adequate. Okay, so run through here, grab this, get in there. You know, the planks are kind of insanely good. And I don't really need much here in terms of shenanigans. I just kind of like zoop over, grab this, turn around, and leave. At least that's the plan. So I guess the only thing left to do now is to get into starting position. And see how fast things are now. Not gonna be lied. I'm not going to be lied. What? Not gonna lie. I'm going to be disappointed if this maneuver doesn't get me the full clear. Like, that was what I dreamed would happen. And then it actually did. Alright, and go. I forgot to put a boat here, didn't I? Yep. I can't overwrite my save when starting. Once the alarm goes off, I can't quick save anymore. I gotta put a boat here so I can zip across. That's the only thing. Luckily, boats are available. I just keep thinking of SpongeBob, like, you're good, you're good. Oh dear. Can I Just kind of manually pull the nose of this around a bit. No, I cannot. It is too heavy. Slightly annoying. Next time I'll quick save when I get behind the wheel of the boat. This is fine. The handling on this is weird. It's like the rear end of it accelerates faster than the front end of it. Which I guess makes sense, because that's like where the motors are, but still. It feels unintuitive to me, ever so slightly. Alright, let's try this again. Out of my way. Ugh. Gonna have to deal with that. Still, very promising opener. Oh no, you forgot to repair your weapon. You gotta do that every time you sit down. Just, this out of there. Much better. Sledges are traditional defoliating tools. Alright, let's try this again. Didn't have enough momentum to get up the plane. Ran out the backside of the truck. The top side of the yacht there seems oddly tarnished, I wonder why. Let me in. Not like that. If need be, I do have more planks. I got lots more planks. I could, like, certain things a bit smoother. Going through the water there was slow. This feels like it's going reasonably well, at least. This boat is not very fast. You know, this boat probably would have been a really good candidate for vehicle thrusters. I still think that this is very doable. Rocket boosters just go off and activate them. I only need that thing to go in a straight line. I could strap these to it, like, on the way through. That's totally doable. Getting caught on that ledge is just silly. Getting the transformer of all things. Okay. Not quite where I wanted to end up. That submerged fence right there seems to be a place where I'm consistently losing time. So it's a prime candidate for planking. There we go. I can just jump over like that. This plank really does look like Minecraft Steve's arm. Alright, quick save. Working sun, well done. It was going really well until I slipped between two planks. Why did this one turn sideways? Must have been like the wake from the boat or something. Alright, this is fine, this is fine. We're good, we're good. We are zooming. This is great. This is a good thing. Less than optimal? probably less optimal than the vehicle boosters. I think I would have been faster without those. This is still very doable. This would actually be probably a lot smoother with the vehicle thrusters. But I don't want to restart the whole thing. Because I don't know if I could replicate the, that. Oh dear, this is fine. Let me in. Yep. Yes, awesome. Not even close. I really wonder what the intended route for that one is. I really thought with, like, how much time I spent in the water behind that boat that I was, like, not gonna make it. And to be fair, I almost didn't. The chase. Oh. Okay, I didn't pick this one from like a mission select screen. This is just happening. Ow. All right. Ooh, goodies. Lost wallet, $6 in it. Too real. I wonder how many goodies are hidden in this map overall. Like, if I were a map designer, I would put a bunch of goodies in the map that you were, like, meant to zip through at, like, high speeds. That could have been bad. Alrighty. I have a crime license. Lee convicted for tax evasion. Following a series of unrelated incidents at Lee Chemicals, owner and CEO Lawrence Lee Jr. was arrested for tax evasion this morning. Ms. Turdeman at the police says they have overwhelming evidence thanks to good police work and strong community support. Also, I got an achievement saying reach part 2. So yeah, part 2, 6 months later. Ooh, it is pretty. And I'm an expert. Okay, so we've like paved over the... We paved over like the train thing. We got like a fancy front on our office. Nitroglycerin. That sounds like fun. Nitroglycerin containers are highly explosive and causes massive damage. They can be placed anywhere and will blow up when shot, in fire, or otherwise broken. Okay, so these are kind of like... I could like put this down somewhere and then like set it off with a gun, for example. That could be really good. I do like how this place like looks nicer and nicer as time goes on. It's like, behold, the fruits of your efforts. Just got the tax bill for your van. Is that still registered to me? We should probably do something about that. It's been really quiet for a while. What happened to all those clients you brought in earlier this year? Still have some dough left, but it's running out quickly. We need to bring in new ones. Let me know if you hear anything. Amanatides, discreet photographer. Greetings. We have not been formally introduced, and I would prefer we keep it that way. A mutual friend, Mr. Wu, informed me of your proficiency in entering and exiting locations undetected. Due to an increase in popularity, the beverage business I run requires a security upgrade, especially the facility on Hollow Rock Island. I contacted RoboSec to inquire about their autonomous guard robots, but the price is exorbitant. However, they offered a significant discount if I provide information on the robot research by their competitor, Quila's Security. Are you interested in helping me obtain this information? A few close-up photographs of their robot prototypes should be enough. I would reward you handsomely. High-tech manufacturing and research facility built on the steep cliffs of the North Shore. Quila's Security has been a long-time market leader in wired alarm boxes, but is pivoting into autonomous security robots. I got a camera. I wonder if that battery indicator in the upper right corner is, like, actually indicating that, like, I have a limited time for this. And there appears to be... Oh, they're all just underground. Okay. There appear to be no real restrictions on this, so that's kind of cool. And, like, nothing will set off an alarm. I like how I just have hacking skills. Also, yeah, Adamantize was like... he was mentioned earlier. I don't remember the exact context. But he was definitely mentioned in, like, an earlier, email. The feature is here. Feature seems pretty blank. I can fix that. Excellent. Fake identity used by the tax evasion guy? No, he was like in contact with this guy. I think that's what it was. Fancy. Get shoved around, nerds. Push and shove machines are us. 5-day rental. Research and development. Okay, so they're bulletproof. Good to know. They can climb stairs. I get the feeling that this is like introducing me to their capabilities and I'm gonna have to deal with them sooner rather than later. Ah. The robot itself is also equipped with a gun. Oi, oi, oi. Rude. Bulletproof material sample. Oh. Wait, I didn't save my game. Whoopsie. I guess the idea there is that it can, like, acquire targets. Well, setting that aside, this mission seems like a gimme. The future is Fox. That part's just canon. Oh, gyroscope. We take those. I should probably quick save just in case. Fun fact, I don't know if it's the same in Space Engineers 2, but in Space Engineers 1, the best ship armor is actually gyroscopes. Like, you would think that it's, like, ship armor, but no, it's gyroscopes. And the reason for that... Ow, ow, ow. The reason for that is that in Space Engineers, like, most blocks you can make a ship out of deform when damaged. But gyroscopes, even when damaged, don't deform. So, like, they can't, like, snap off or, like, provide an open hole into your systems. Okay, so it detected the light as well. I see the problem. This is fine. Oh, are they chasing me out? Oh dear. Ugh. It's okay, the future is Fox. That makes me invincible. Yeah, the gyroscope thing is definitely unintended. It's just funny. Though the flip side is that if you put down a gyroscope incorrectly, and the block that it's sitting on gets destroyed instead, you might end up with like a very, very solid object, like crashing around the inside of your ship, tearing it apart from the inside out. Top dog, excuse you, I'm a fox. Hunting rifle. Press Press right mouse button to zoom in and aim. Alright. I guess this is for like precision stuff. Awesome. Bullets also pierce through several layers of material. I saw you made a deposit. You got a new client? Must be paying really well. Anyway, I was thinking about the van. Maybe we should get you a new one. I could actually use your old rust bucket for my grocery shopping. Saw this at the dealer. What do you think? Hugs, Mom. Here we go again. Long time no see. After the lead case closed, I didn't really dig further into Blue Tide and Mr. Amanatides. But just recently we've gotten several toxicology reports indicating that there's something in the energy drink that clearly shouldn't be there. Our addictometer maxed out. And that thing isn't even very sensitive. Just tried on my morning coffee. No reaction. Can you head over to Hollow Rock and get clean samples of the secret ingredients? It would help us identify exactly what he's mixing in and from where he's getting it. By the way, I heard they closed a deal with RoboSex recently. Stay safe. Pick up samples of the secret ingredients. Each sample is stored in a secure safe that can only be opened with explosives. Watch out for robots. So there's a fire alarm and guard robots. It says stay away from guard robots, but will they fail the mission or will they just start trying to kill me? It's like that's two different layers of menace. Like one requires routing, the other requires movement. Let's see. Okay, robot. Sturdy safe needs explosives. And, oh, you. When did you get here? Alright. This is fine. Flashbacks to the portal turrets. Honestly, yeah. It does seem to require explosives. Yoink. And I can quick save after getting one, so I guess it's just avoid the robots. Super casual, like. On the ground. Second floor. Robot there, don't want to go in through there. Luckily, as a fox, I canonically have X-ray vision. It's actually a thing. Well, it's not really X-rays and it's not really vision, but like, I can see through walls. That's canon. Well, it's not so, you know what I mean. I can perceive through walls. Yeah, exactly. Foxfall hacks are canon. We can just do that. Nobody can stop us. You didn't see anything? Ow, 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 ow. That hurts. Stop. Desist. I don't like it. Oh, okay. Ooh. I have some water bottles worth $5. Hello, friend. Yoink. Oh, there is a fire alert. Shoot, I forgot about that part. We get back up there quickly. Hey, pardon me. Not gonna lie, I didn't expect to get away with that. And the third one's just right here. Whatever you found on that pipe bomb. Oh. This is fine. Oh, so I think the explosion knocked it over. Goodbye. Try getting through that one, nerd. Oh no, it caught through that one. This is embarrassing on part of both, like, the Chaser and the Escapee, I think. Alright. Fire alert. What is on fire? Is there a fire in the tunnels? Yes, there is. Don't shoot me, I'm helping. This is fine. Not that button. There we go. Let me do a little sneaky. Here. This is fine. One in there, one over there. For me, sir. Don't mind me. And the last one's just over there. Get wrecked. Like, literally, actually. And the last one's, like, up above me somehow. Office platform. Must be in there. Pardon me. I'm allowed to be here, don't worry about it. Textbook, let's go. This is fine. Wait, this isn't my escape route. Oh, my escape route all the way over there. Silly me. This is fine. You just go around the outside. As fun as planning the heists are, I do kind of enjoy the missions where it's just complete the objective at your leisure. Yeah. Have I fallen on hard times? What's going on here? I'm not sure if I'm fixing the place up or if it's like falling back apart. Yeah. Loot height shortage. Despite the security upgrade, I had a recent break-in at Hollow Rock. The new robots are not performing as advertised. I had a string of similar break-ins last summer, and I suspect this one might be related. The production has had a significant setbacks due to the break-in, and as a result, we haven't been able to meet demand lately. Our stores are running low, and this reflects very unfavorably on the company. However, some dealer in Frustrum has surplus stock and has been selling my product to my own customers throughout our ordeal. They've been lining their pockets whilst we've been occupied with the fallout from the break-in. Very unsympathetic behavior, I would say. To rectify this, I would like you to reclaim my product from Frustrum to restock my stores. Frustrum has been evacuated due to the storm, so it should be straightforward for somebody with your skills. Tiny village of Frustrum, featuring upscale hotel, nightclub, club, and gas station. Okay, this is where I ran through for the chase. Stay away from tornadoes. Alright. So, like, how nasty are these tornadoes? I guess I'm simply too powerful. Alright. Let's see. Oh, blue tie. Let's see. wonder if there's like any actual like energy drink that comes in a keg. Probably not that many. I appear to have been yoked. I see now the problem with the tornadoes. Tornado, get me up there. Thank you, Tornado. You just have to speak assertively. Tornadoes will just do what you say. Let's see, there's also one up here. Oh, it's like a whole building over. Silly me. Rooms of luxury. Grand Hotel, established 1979. Smooth Skin Plus. Making it sound like a subscription service, which I guess it kind of could be taken as, yeah. If you're like constantly investing in products to like maintain your skin. This is fine. One all the way over here in the brick building. Let me just give this a little yoink. This is fine. What a gentleman, the tornado even opened the door for me. Now it's over here. One appears to be in a truck, so that could be nice. Might be able to just, like, drive it back. Actually, what if I could get them all into the truck and deliver them all at once? That could be nice. Oh dear. Where did that blue tide go? Oh, it's in the river now? Ow. This is fine. It just means it had a soft landing, that's all. Yeah, I'm innocent of any wrongdoing. It was the tornadoes that wrecked everything. Might be easier if I bring the thing over here, then I don't have to worry about, like, stopping, getting out, loading it, and then getting back in. Let's see, where thing? Thing over here. This is fine. I'm going a little tiny bit over tonight, but I'm pretty sure I can finish this mission in not too much more time. Right. Now I just gotta deliver. Oh, you know what could be fun? Is, the vehicle thrusters. I look like I've driven through a war zone. We can even get across with this truck. Oh, maybe I go over this way. Oh, I need to lower the bridge again, though. Since I raised it earlier. That's fine. Let's get this out the road. This is fine. This is fine. My blue tide, no. This is fine, actually. Yeah. This is slightly less fine. Okay, I got an idea. It's like the ones behind me make me go faster. The ones on top keep me anchored. I did lose one. That's okay though. I still got the other two. I still got one. The car is destroyed. Tornado, release me. Did not mean to shoot the blue tide, but that's fine. No, my blue tide. This is fine. I just need to slip through when the tornado stops. I don't know what I'm snagged on. Where'd the last one go? Is it in the river? What? Ended up on top. Alright. Let's try and just get these out of here. It's up here. Must have gotten chucked up there by the wind. Picked up, don't think about it. Here's the Gem Revolver's LP. Okay. And 66, awesome. Hotshot. Also a fancy new vehicle. Ooh, new toy. We'll find out what that is, then we'll call it. Blue tide. This feels like a bad idea. Blue Tide Founders Edition, extra strong. Drinking a bottle will temporarily boost your running speed and jumping ability. How much we talking? It's something. Give me a little bit of an edge. Yeah, we're gonna call it there for the night. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it each and every time. Next scheduled stream is going to be on Monday. Also, yeah, especially like for those runs where like I was just like a 10th of a second off. I'll thank you for the head pats and the hydrate. Yeah, next scheduled stream is on Monday. The game is going to be on Epic. The next time that I'm playing, thank you for the rotation. Next time that I'm playing Teardown in particular is going to be on Sunday. I hope you have a wonderful night. I hope to see you again. Good night. Ow, my bones.